As you can see, my sofa by Natuzzi is for $100,000. My curtains by Armani are for $200,000. And my sunglasses by Gucci are for $300,000. Now tell me, what kind of brands do you like, Indian?
सिर्फ ब्रांडिंग टाटा मेक इन इंडिया वाला कैफे किचन भरा विद टाटा टी एंड टाटा नमक बाहर देख तेरा सबक गाड़ी जैगवार इन पार्किंग एंड सड़क बिजली भी तो टाटा पावर की अब घर पर ओटीपी वोल्टास एसी भी स्टारबक्स की डिलीवरी क्रोमा स्टोर से लाया सब कुछ कड़क भड़क गई भारी ब्रांड वाले बुड़बक मेरे सर पे दर्द तो टाटा स्काई ऑन लाइफ बनी मेरी जिंगा लाला मलहम टाटा टाटा ही तो लाटा टाटा.
There is something that Tata has realized a long time ago about India, and I am here to tell you exactly what that is. Say what you want about Kunal Shah, but I remember watching a podcast with him in it where he talks about how focusing on just one problem in the country is not enough to build a large business in the country. The issue is that India is not a consumer nation that spends too much per person, unlike America. To build a truly large business, you need to own a house of companies united by a single brand rather than be a single company and focus on one problem like in the US. There was a thread by Romeen Sheth that compressed that one podcast by Kunal Shah, and I thought that thread deserved a video of its own. He said that all the revenue per user in India is concentrated in what consumers perceive as long-term assets. The thread states that this list is tiny. India spends on education, health, real estate, gold, and I would like to add marriage and weddings. For example, 18% of the world's gold is held by Indian retail consumers. And there's a second problem in India, that men are the primary consumers. Less than 7% of the urban female population in India has independent financial income compared to 90% plus in China. India is probably one of the only countries in the world where the fashion spend of men is more than women. In other markets, women's fashion spend is 5 to 7 times that of men's. In fact, the end buyer of a Tata company product is mostly a male. From Tata Steel to Tata Motors to Tata Power, it's a male making that decision. And we keep saying this thing in India, where the per capita income is 1.5 lakhs. This actually hides the real problem. If you remove the top 30 million people out of 1.5 billion people in India, then the per capita income drops to less than 56,000.
Oh my god, I shopped a lot today.
हेलो हाँ निर्मला कौन सी साड़ी चाहिए? अच्छा भैया जी एक लाल वाली साड़ी दिखा दीजिएगा.
कौन सा कलर?
निर्मला कौन सी वाली लाल चाहिए? सिंदूर वाली लाल की पान वाली लाल? खून वाली लाल बोल.
खून वाली है अपने पास. ए छोटू खून वाली साड़ी लेके आ रहे. आ गई. ये लो मस्त क्वालिटी का है.
वो मिसेस जरा नाराज है ना. निर्मला हाँ ले ली. अब तो मायके नहीं जाओगी ना तुम. हेलो निर्मला. हेलो.
Almost 80% of all spending in India outside of roti kapda is done just by 2% of the population. That's why when I say that AI will take most jobs, most people respond by saying that how will the economy survive if only 1% will be employed and spending? Well, it's already like that. You are just not taught this in school and college, and you can't see it sitting in front of your computer or your mobile phone. I see it because I've built businesses for 10 years. I understand India from a zoomed out and zoomed in perspective, unlike what you see on Netflix. Also, Tata understood something very important about trust. India is a low trust society. Trust is broken into pieces and concentrated in different areas. For example, in India, trust is either hyper-local, which is you trust your neighbors and your street, or hyper-national. Hyper-local means you trust your family, relatives, community. Hyper-national means you really trust big brands, family brands, brands with like some really old person on their logo. Conglomerates like Tata can launch both a Tata Salt and a nano car and a services company in TCS because people trust them. This is also why super apps like WeChat have a better probability of working in places like India and China versus the West. And in low trust societies like India, people tend to trust just a handful of brands. A venture capitalist once told me, India is the most under-branded nation. Once you have a brand, that brand becomes extraordinary leverage to sell other things. And you must sell multiple things if you want to get big. Basically, India is a big market when you think of the headline numbers, but it's tiny on a per capita consumption basis. The consumer class in this country simply doesn't have large pockets. Most of their spend goes in roti, kapda and makan and loan. This is the opposite of places like America, where the ideal strategy is to pick one thing as a business, specialize and go very deep into it. There are plumbing social media companies in the US making $250 million a year. But in India, as a consumer company, you must go deep into one problem, build a brand and then branch out. Nykaa is a great example of this. They built a great brand online, but most of their sales and their gross margins come from the offline world. So a lot of e-commerce companies in India are realizing that online is just for brand building, eventually need to sell the old school way. And when you are trusted, after you become trusted, you can enter any other market you want, carrying the same brand name throughout. And remember we spoke about weddings? Kunal Shah says that the Indian consumer is irrational and will sometimes spend up to 20 times their annual income in a single wedding. Gross margins, which is the ability to make profit, are much higher for status products versus products bought for individual use in this country, in low trust societies, because everyone is trying to increase their trust in the eyes of others.
अरे वैक्यूम क्लीनर का ऐड आया, वो फाइनेंस इन्फ्लुएंसर ने बोला सेविंग्स करो। नहीं यार, नहीं खरीदते।
सर, आपकी बेटे की शादी तय हो गई, पर वो थोड़ा दहेज मांग रहे।
दहेज सब दे दो, ये ले, ये मेरे गाड़ी ले, ये मेरी वाइफ की सब कुछ ले, ये मेरे आईफोन ले, ये मेरी जमीन की पेपर, ये मेरी हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, ये मेरी सब कुछ बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट भी है, ये भी ले, चल, हाँ ये भी ले, वो शर्ट नहीं, ये रखता हूँ।
Kunal says that the Indian consumer spends more on products in their living room versus their bedroom. Basically, they will spend more to show off to others than to live their own life. 80% of the suitcases in India, for example, are sold not for travel, they are bought for Indian weddings to help transport a bride's items when she moves into her new home, again to signal status of having a premium suitcase and a premium family. That's why Tata made bets in Tanishq and Click. It understands that the gross margin in consumer business is in these kinds of products. And finally, Tata understands that while you can do as much as you want in consumer, the maximum money it will make is from business and selling to the US. TCS contributes to more than half of Tata Group's revenues, and Tata has a lot of companies under that umbrella. Remember, all businesses in India follow the same pattern. A business takes money from people and different people pay different kinds of money in different situations. Same person might spend a lot when representing his business, but be conjuice on personal spending. But opening the customer's wallet is a lot about building trust. For most other products, India is very price conscious, but not for those in health, education, weddings, real estate, and gold. A vice president of Swiggy once told me that he used to keep seeing the Swiggy app going in the background, coming back, going in the background, coming app, and he used to see this behavior with lots of customers. Apparently, people were comparing the price of the same dish in the same restaurant between Swiggy and Zomato, even for 30 to 40 rupee products, which shows you how price conscious India is with these things, but completely not price conscious when it comes to status and weddings. Understanding business is understanding human behavior. If you build a fantastic product in a bad market, you will lose, period. You can be an average founder working in a large market and have a much higher chance of succeeding than a very smart founder in a bad market. But Tata has a great team specifically working on great markets, and that is why they win. Now, like I've told you, the meat of Tata's revenue actually comes from TCS, and if you want to learn more about TCS, we actually have a video on that, which I really enjoy. Please go give it a watch.